Okay, welcome everyone. I'd like to call the August 25th board meeting of the El Dorado Irrigation District to order. Can we have the roll call, please?
Directors Penn, Mansfield, Dwyer, Anzini, and Day present. General Manager Van Dier, outgoing General Manager Abercrombie, General Counsel Polson, and Clerk to the Board Sullivan present.
Thank you. Please stand and join me in the pledge. Ready? Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Day.
Seconded.
Thank you, Director Anzini. Are there any board comments on the agenda? Any public comment on the agenda?
If members of the public would like to address the board on the adoption of today's agenda, please refer to the detailed instructions on page 2. President Dwyer, it does not appear any members of the public are wishing to speak on the adoption of today's agenda, moved by Director Day and seconded by Director Anzini. I believe we're ready for the vote.
Please vote.
Division 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, voting aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, moving on to communications. General Manager comments on employee recognition.
So I have an employee recognition item today. The district received an email from an EID customer expressing appreciation for the outstanding service provided by Trace Nordquist, Seth Boba, Kevin Walsh, and Eric Tyler, construction and maintenance workers in the drinking water division. On a Saturday evening, the customer noticed a significant leak in Diamond Springs. It was a water leak. Concerned about potential damage, the customer contacted the district's after-hours line. Upon returning several hours later, the customer found the leak fully repaired and the road patched. The customer noted that this timely and effective response demonstrated the dedication and professionalism of the EID team and highlighted the importance of addressing aging infrastructure. They extended their gratitude to the crew for their quick action and excellent work. Providing excellent customer service is one of our guiding principles, and we commend Trace, Seth, Kevin, and Eric for their dedication to this principle and the positive impact they have had on our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That does set the bar pretty high. I think that the customer response and our district response to this incident is great, but a lot of times it takes a lot longer than that to solve leaks, to get the other lines safely identified. And so we're glad that this was a good shining example, but sometimes it won't be quite that quick. Okay, thanks. Any public comment for items that are not on the agenda today?
If members of the public would like to address the board, please refer to the instructions on page 2 of today's agenda. President Dwyer, it doesn't appear any members of the public are wishing to speak.
Okay, thank you. Next to communications, general manager report? Nothing? Okay. Jennifer, do you have anything for us?
Nothing additional, thank you.
All right. Board of Directors comments? No? All right. Thank you. We'll move to the consent calendar. Entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second it.
Thank you.
Could I make a friendly amendment, one to pull number 6?
Okay,
Could I move the approval of the consent calendar absent item 6?
okay.
Okay.
Thank-
Accepted.
You second again? All right.
Accepted.
Okay. Any other board comment on the consent calendar minus item 6? Okay, any public comment on the consent calendar minus item 6?
If members of the public would like to address the board on the approval of today's consent calendar, please refer to the detailed instructions on page 2.
Orientation, and there's so much more that I could say on the engineering score and about its importance. And for example, one of my career legacies probably is still supporting your phones. They at some level of transporting the just the speech on. But something else that I will not take time Yeah, okay.
Don't start over.
Okay, anyway, or to put it another way, maybe the most concise citation was what Neil Armstrong said the time we got together for lunch in Ohio, and his introduction of himself was saying that he was an engineer first and a pilot second. And that's true, absolutely true. Neil was definitely an engineer and had that mindset, and it supported his activities in, among other things, space programs.
Great, thank you very much. We are very proud of our engineering group.
Yeah.
They've got a huge challenge with the operational needs that we have. So we're proud of the whole team, but engineers have a special
Yes.
talent and challenge.
And one thing that I really appreciated was that every time I talked with an EID engineer, I learned something.
We all do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Jennifer, do we vote on the consent calendar -6 first and then talk about item 6?
Yes,
Okay.
we're ready for the vote on the consent calendar minus item number 6.
Thank you.
Division 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, voting aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Item 6, surplus lands change
Yeah,
of,
I wanted to pull this because I wanted to give Brian a shout out for pursuing this. And if you haven't read his article, it's very well written and it makes a good case. So hopefully we can get this through the legislature and it's just good common sense. But I wanted to thank you and give you commendations for it.
Thanks very
thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
The
So
picture-
with that,
The picture wasn't bad either. huh?
No, he's a handsome man. So well, I'll move item 6.
Thank you very much.
I'll second it.
Oh, thank you, Director Anzini. Any other board comments?
Well, in reviewing this, I looked at it over the weekend and sent an inquiry over to a representative of Housing El Dorado because I was just curious, and I hadn't heard back from them. But I just wanted to make sure that there was something that we weren't missing on it. But again, very good article, and we'll see where it takes us.
Any public comment on this item?
If members of the public would like to address the board on consent calendar item number 6, please refer to the instructions in today's agenda. President Dwyer, it doesn't appear any members of the public are wishing to speak on consent calendar item number 6. Option 1, moved by Director Day and seconded by Director Anzini. I believe we're ready for the vote.
Okay, please vote.
Division 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, voting aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, I'm going to use the power of the chair to change the rest of the agenda around a little bit. We're going to move item 12 to the front. And that's a resolution recognizing the service of our general manager, retiring general manager Abercrombie. So do I have a motion to approve that
We're
resolution?
not going to make him wait to the end of this.
No,
So moved.
we're making our paid consultant wait.
Oh,
You got a motion in a second.
And thank you.
Second was Director Mansfield. Okay.
Okay, any board comment?
Or would you like me to read the resolution first?
Oh, that would be lovely.
Okay. So everyone get comfortable. Resolution of the Board of Directors of El Dorado Irrigation District honoring Jim M. Abercrombie for his distinguished service. Whereas Jim Abercrombie, who concludes a distinguished public service career spanning nearly 48 years, has provided extraordinary leadership and steadfast commitment to the El Dorado Irrigation District and the customers it serves since his appointment as general manager in 2009. Whereas Jim Abercrombie brought to the district decades of utility management experience, including 11 years as general manager of the Amador Water Agency and 20 years with Pacific Gas and Electric Company, where he served as El Dorado County District Manager. And whereas Jim Abercrombie is a registered civil engineer and holds both a Bachelor of Science in Engineering and a Master of Business Administration from Santa Clara University. And whereas his educational, technical, and managerial expertise have been instrumental to the district's success in navigating numerous emergency, fiscal, personnel, and operational challenges during his tenure as general manager. Whereas in the early years of his leadership, he successfully led the district through recovery from the fiscal aftermath of the Great Recession, implemented a long-term and sustainable financial and capital improvement plan, and significantly improved its bond ratings, culminating in refinancing efforts that save millions of dollars for ratepayers. And whereas throughout his distinguished tenure, Jim Abercrombie led major infrastructure investments to reduce costs, improved operational efficiencies, expanded customer outreach, and strengthened the district's long-term water reliability, setting a strong foundation for future service to district customers and the broader community. Whereas during the historic drought from 2014 to 2016, his leadership ensured that the district not only met all customer water demands, but also completed its first surplus water sale, generating approximately $2 million in non-rate revenue, a milestone that was repeated in subsequent years and ultimately totaled more than $5 million in additional revenue that directly benefited ratepayers and established a long-term model for future non-rate revenue opportunities. And whereas he championed innovation in renewable energy by overseeing the expansion of the district's solar generating capacity to more than 5.3 megawatts and securing a partnership with Tesla to install battery storage system projected to save the district over $6 million over 20 years. And whereas in 2016, Jim Abercrombie experienced a life-threatening health crisis that required a double lung transplant. Yet he demonstrated extraordinary personal resilience by returning to lead the district just months later, exemplifying his deep commitment to public service. And whereas the same year he signed a long-term Warren Act contract with the Bureau of Reclamation for the diversion of the district's Permit 2112 water right at Folsom Reservoir. This contract enabled the district to begin using a water supply nearly 25 years in the making and marked the second such success. The first having been executed by him in 2010, which allowed for the rediversion of the district's Weber Reservoir and portions of its pre-1914 rights at Folsom Reservoir. Whereas in 2017, the district experienced federally declared storm damage resulting in over $20 million in infrastructure losses, and in 2021, the Calder Fire devastated critical water conveyance system of Project 184 and significantly impacted the Jenkinson Lake watershed, the district's largest consumptive water supply serving all district customers. In both instances, Jim Abercrombie's steady leadership ensured that all staff and members of the public under his authority remained safe, service to customers remained uninterrupted, and the public health protections were upheld. And whereas under his direction, the district successfully advanced and executed long-planned Upper Main Ditch pipeline project originally proposed in the 1970s, which will conserve more than 1,500 acre-feet of water annually to help meet the water supply needs of future generations of El Dorado County residents. Despite litigation and public opposition, he remained committed to its successful delivery and in the process secured $10 million in state grant funding to offset implementation costs. And whereas during 2021, the district managed 4 concurrent emergency declarations related to COVID-19, drought, the Calder Fire, and emergency dam repairs. Under Jim Abercrombie's guidance and in alignment with the district's mission statement and guiding principles, the latter of which he developed upon his arrival. The district maintained essential services, regulatory compliance, and public confidence during some of the most challenging times in the history of the agency and the community. Whereas Jim Abercrombie has been an active and respected participant in regional and statewide water associations and related subcommittees, including Regional Water Authority, Association of California Water Agencies, Mountain Counties Water Resources Association, and American Water Works Association, through which he has advanced regional and statewide cooperation and collaboration, defended local water rights, and promoted sound water policy. And whereas his service to the community extends well beyond the district, including a decade as a member of the Marshall Medical Center Board of Directors, where he served 2 years as chair, and active participation in numerous civic and professional organizations. Among his many contributions to our community, Jim Abercrombie is a past president of the Placerville Rotary Club, El Dorado County Chamber of Commerce, El Dorado County Development Corporation, and United Way of El Dorado County, as well as past chair of the El Dorado Leadership Program. He has also been an active member of the El Dorado County Sheriff's Posse and surveyors, architects, geologists, and engineers. And whereas Jim has served has served El Dorado County for more than 27 years through both his professional and extensive volunteer work, reflecting a deep, enduring commitment to the people and communities of this region. Communities of this region. Whereas Jim has lived in Placerville for 40 years, where he raised his family and remains a proud and devoted father and grandfather. He cherishes his 3 children and 6 grandchildren, all of whom reside in the community, further demonstrating his deep roots and strong commitment to the area he has served with honor. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the El Dorado Irrigation District as follows. The board gratefully acknowledges Jim Abercrombie's more than 16 years of exemplary service as general manager, during which he became one of the longest-serving general manager, both in the district's history and the region. His nearly 48-year career in public service has left a lasting legacy in utility leadership, community engagement, and water resource stewardship. The board commends Jim Abercrombie for his strategic vision, financial leadership, and commitment to public service, even in the face of personal and professional adversity, and for his efforts to position the district for long-term success. The board finds and declares that Jim Abercrombie has demonstrated a career defined by integrity, resilience, innovation, and public trust, and that his many accomplishments have benefited the district's customers and the broader community. With great admiration and appreciation, the board extends its warmest wishes to Jim Abercrombie for a fulfilling and well-earned retirement. His knowledge, insight, and leadership will be deeply missed, and his legacy will continue to guide the district for years to come.
Motion?
Well, no, we did that already.
Did we?
So we have a first and a second.
How about it?
But
Yeah, all right.
if I could say a few words, or
Yeah,
whenever
I
it's
think
my
that's
turn.
appropriate.
Okay, okay, well, good, yeah. Well, I just want to say, Jim and I have been here almost about the same amount of time. Jim precedes me by just a year, and so we've seen a lot and been through a lot, and we've agreed about a lot of things, but we've butted heads about some things as well along the way. To show you, kind of give an indication of how long we've been here, in those early days, we would receive the board packets, hundreds of pages printed out and hand-delivered to us. At least as a board member, I was hand-delivered. But those things are gigantic, and the technology has improved where we can actually get it electronically and click and read things. It's much better. But I don't think we had the old dial-up, but it wasn't long after that. But Jim has done the stories that I heard when I was first getting interested in EID about its management in past years before Jim's arrival. It was not the best. It wasn't sterling. There were a lot of problems, and Jim has professionalized many operations and behaviors at EID, safety being one of the most important. I know he's a huge believer in that, and he's been successful at preaching that, and we've tried to support him in that. And the other thing that's important is that we're both big San Francisco Giants fans, and it's been a struggle. We got to enjoy some good years, but maybe not so much this year. But where conflict comes in again, where we've butted heads, is I'm a Niner fan. He's a Packer fan. So we can't always agree on everything, but thank you, Jim. I've appreciated and it's been a challenge and an enjoyment working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Day. Any other board comments? Director?
I'll say a few words. I'm kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. My overlap with Jim is less than a year, and not to diminish my excitement about the future with Pravani, but it does sadden me a bit that our overlap was not a little longer. I've been a lifelong resident of Placerville and a practitioner of agriculture, utilizing the irrigation services of EID. And there's no questioning the change in culture during your tenure that's led to more professionalism, more integrity, the safety, the responsibility at all ranks of EID. So that's a thumbprint that I hope that we can make long lasting. So thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much.
So when I first started attending meetings many years ago, the organization was floundering, and Jim righted the ship and put us on the path where we are now. I am most appreciative. The community should be appreciative, and sets the stage for Pravani to take us to the next level. But without Jim's leadership, we would not be in the solid footing that we are today. Thank you.
Director Anzini.
Jim, I hope you've already picked out a state park you're going to go visit. But I really want to thank you very much for your professionalism. My 7 years here, it's always been a smooth sailing, managed from crisis to crisis, and you've stood above a lot of people and other water agencies. So with that, I thank you. Your staff has been developed by your role model, and that's appreciation at all levels for ratepayers and for board members, because you know what true leadership is supposed to be no matter what. And, you know, I admire your good gracious tenacity on some things as you did for mine, and I appreciate it. So good luck next state park or national park. I hope I wish you well in your retirement, and just stay around.
Thank you. And Jim, I have just a couple words. I think you're leaving EID in a much better place than you found it. Some of the other directors have echoed that. And using the Green Bay approach, you've pursued perfection and managed to balance the needs of the ratepayers, the EID team members, and the infrastructure investment that we need to make. You met the challenges of, as you heard, personal health, fires, pestilence, floods, landslides, and all this while maintaining our core values. Thank you for your leadership and commitment. EID is well positioned to move into the future. Thank you. And it's, do we need to vote? Oh, any public comment on this? Here we go.
None of those are open yet, but we do want to make sure, Jim, I had an opportunity to be in violation of district regulations at least once on the way out. But I'm Larry McKinney. I'm the general manager of Amador Water Agency, where we're very happy to be neighbors with EID. It's been very valuable for us. And of course, I'm sitting at the desk that Jim used to sit at before he came here, and I'm very mindful of that. And, you know, he did a lot of the good things there in the early 2000s that he has done here. I'm also here as the chair of Aqua Region 3, which is a region that extends from about Calaveras County all the way to Oregon, so it's quite a large endeavor. But Jim has been on that board since I've been there and well before that, and it's an excellent collaborative board for discussion of state policy issues and how we can represent our region in the statewide association. So we all got together and decided that what we'd like to do to show Jim our appreciation is to provide a little gift of wine. We picked an Amador winery, Easton, Golden Leaves, a Calaveras, an El Dorado County winery, and Aloria from Calaveras, so representing the region. And then just in case you want to have a little table excursion, I've put in a bottle of Herman Story from Paso Robles. That's one of my favorite wineries. So that's for you. Wait till you leave. Thank you, Jim.
Good morning, Mr. President. Bob Reeb from Placerville, Division 3. Some of you may know me. I first met Mr. Abercrombie back in, I think, 1990 when I was manager of the El Dorado County Water Agency, and he was quite friendly but quite stuck on protecting his current employer at that time, Pacific Gas and Electric Company. We enjoyed a series of meetings that led generally nowhere, but he was always very kind and cordial. I appreciate him as an EID customer, and of course the work of the boards that he worked with. I know it wasn't always the easiest challenge that you faced here, and you've done a very admirable job as a customer and ratepayer. Appreciate that. And finally, as 21 years the advocate for the district, I want to say appreciate your support, your hard work, your cooperation with me, your direction in helping me to represent the district down in Sacramento. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Any other public comment?
I have a couple of words. You know, damn, I wish I had this resolution when I had my performance reviews. That would have been a lot better.
Who wrote the resolution?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I'll be brief, but since this is my last board meeting, I just wanted to reflect a few years. You know, I've been here 16 years and 48-year career. It's been challenging, rewarding, and exciting. First, I don't see my kids here, but JJ, Mary, and Megan, those are the kids that I have just the greatest pride and joy with. They're very professional. They're out doing their job, like working for Marshall Hospital or teaching or working up in the yard up there. So I was also blessed during that time of 16 years with 4 of my 6 grandchildren. So it's been a long-term commitment here, both personally and professionally. Also fortunate to meet my partner, Kim, who's been on my side in recent years. We're working together on our bucket list, which is going to all the national parks. We've got 20 out of 63 down, and I'm looking forward to enjoying the future with her and seeing those parks. The resolution identified my personal journey with the double lung transplant. It gives you a different perspective in life. You know, you're all stressed at work and you're worried about making sure everything's buttoned up and tidy. But when you have this issue, it changes your perspective. So not only do you try and do the best job at work, but you reflect on, I think, a little more about the personal side of life. And I was grateful to be able to return here and contribute to the EID for the next several years. Like any long career, there's been challenges, times of uncertainty, difficult decisions, and also successes. Together, we strengthened our infrastructure as the resolution discussed, improved our services, built a stronger and I believe more resilient district. You know, you mentioned landslides and the Caldor fire. Those were a little stressful days trying to get service back and managing all that stuff. But I'm proud to be a part of those accomplishments, but even more proud of the teamwork, perseverance, and dedication of EID's employees. I want to thank this board and past boards for their commitment to the community and to the organization. I want to recognize the executive team, both past and present, whose commitments and teamwork help the district navigate difficult times, challenging times, but also celebrating our accomplishments. It's not written in my notes, but I also want to recognize one other person here that kept me honest, Jennifer Sullivan. She's the only one who was telling me what to do and how to do it so much, I just let her run the shop. So all these accolades really weren't for me, it was for Jennifer. But she made me look good, so that's okay. Yeah, no kidding. I won't go there. I could say a lot of things, but I'm not going to go there. And as I transition into retirement, I want to express gratitude to my family and my colleagues here. It's been a great team. I leave the district knowing the district's in good hands. Pravani's going to be a great leader here, and I wish you all the success here in the future. She brings strong leadership, a vision to guide the district forward. And again, I look forward to more national parks with my loved ones. I can't end this without two things. One, thank you for the recognition, and to the EID staff. Keep striving for excellence as you continue to serve this community with dedication and pride. And always, always remember that safety comes first, and continue to commit that nothing less than 100% safety in everything you do. To close, I'll borrow a Vince Lombardi quote. It captures the spirits that I've seen here. The achievements of an organization are the results of the combined efforts of each individual/employee. So keep up the dedication and the combined efforts to make this even more successful. And with that, thank you very much. Okay, enough. Let's go back to work.
It's my pleasure and honor to present you with the many, 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 many words that Jennifer
Holy smokes, I need a magnifying glass.
In there? Yes, ma'am.
In front of the dais right there.
No, you can't put this in the newsletter because we have that issue. A picture would be good.
Have a picture by yourself.
No, no, it's good.
Why don't you do one by yourself? You can't put in the newsletter.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll do, can you do Kim and Jim? Do you mind?
Oh, that's sweet.
Okay, enough.
Solo. You only get to retire once, Jim.
Thank God.
It's a long drive to that national park in Guam. You're gonna have trouble with that one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we need
We-
any other public comment?
If additional members of the public would like to address the board on Director Item Number 12, please refer to the detailed instructions on page 2 of today's agenda. We have someone here, Mr. Dan Corkin, our Operations Director, has a word or two. And he's going to change his.
Good morning, members of the board. For those online, my name is Dan Corkin, Operations Director. It's not often to have your general manager's tenure exceed the majority of your employees. That shows a testament to this organization. I think we've heard a lot about what people have learned. Jim loves how much I talk, so for the sake of brevity and out of respect for him, 2 points today. The first one is what I've learned as an individual, and that's the balance between collaboration and decisive leadership. I think that's a values that Jim espouses upon his executive leadership team on a daily basis, and that's something I individually have learned from Jim. But what we've all learned are those 4 items right there. Jim brought those to the district. even the board has described them today. We take each one, sorry, I said I got myself for a sec. We take each one of those in our actions every day. Obviously, the board has described the district's commitment to 100% safety. Our record shows that. Ask our insurance agencies. But the one that's most important to me is respect for the individual. Jim and I have not always agreed on everything, but we respect his leadership, and I think that goes both ways across the organization. Customer service, you heard General Manager Van Diar this morning. We have a whole list of continued recognition of the excellent customer service the district provides, and I think as each board member discussed this morning, what they heard, why they got involved in the organization, that's why our staff are involved to provide that excellent customer service. And obviously, lastly, is fiscal responsibility. I think numbers are numbers, as Jim said, numbers don't lie. And I think obviously where we've come in the past 16 years is testament to Jim's leadership in the area of fiscal responsibility. So thank you, Jim, and I'll cut it from there. So.
Any other public comment?
If any additional members of the public would like to address the board on Director Item Number 12, please refer to the instructions on page 2 in today's agenda, or just come right up to the mic. President Dwyer, it does not appear there are any additional members of the public wishing to speak on Director Item Number 12. Option 1, moved by Director Penn and seconded by Director Day. I believe we're ready for the vote. Division 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, voting aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to item number 13, finance, and that's the receiving and filing the audit.
Didn't do the public hearing on the vacancy. We didn't do the public hearing on the vacancy.
We're going to do that last.
Okay, so the audit is last right now. Yeah, okay.
Good morning, President and members of the board. My name is Madison Franklin. I'm the Interim Finance and Accounting Manager, and I'm here today to present the 2024 Annual Audit. On the screen, you will see a few of the pictures used in this year's Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. On the far left of this first slide is our cover photo, which depicts a snowy landscape up at Lake Aloha. In the center, we have a bright green view of the beautiful Sly Park Recreation Area at Jenkinson Lake, and on the right, another Sly Park Recreation Area photo depicting the flowers in bloom at Hazel Meadows. Previous board action. Every year, the board receives and files the annual audit and the report on applying agreed-upon procedures related to the appropriations limit. The last time these were received and filed was on August 26, 2024. Summary of issue. Our independent auditors, Badawi & Associates, issued an unmodified or clean opinion. This means the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the district as of December 31st, 2024, and the 2023 restated entries. The auditor will address the 2023 restated entries in the presentation later today. An unmodified opinion also means the statements fairly report the changes in the district's financial position and cash flows. An unmodified opinion is the highest level of assurance that an auditor can provide. These are the items we will be covering today. We will begin with the financial highlights, which includes revenues, expenses, debt service, days cash on hand, and credit rating tiers. Then we will discuss the appropriations limit. I will then turn it over to Badawi & Associates for the independent auditor's presentation, and then our general manager will return with our financial goals. For our 2024 financial highlights, net position totaled $502.1 million, which is the total assets and deferred outflows of resources less total liabilities and deferred inflows of resources. This figure increased $25.5 million from restated 2023 due to increases in capital assets. Capital assets less accumulated depreciation totaled $874 million. That's an increase of $27 million from prior year. In 2024, the district collected $14.9 million in facility capacity charges, or FCCs. This was an increase of $4.2 million compared to 2023. $9.1 million came from water FCCs, and $5.8 million came from wastewater FCCs. Operating revenues increased by $10 million, or 13.6%, bringing the total to $83.6 million in 2024. Within that $10 million increase, water sales and services revenue increased by $7.6 million, or 19%. The primary driver to this increase was the 12% board-approved rate increases. The remainder of the increase came from higher water usage, wholesale water sales, and recreation fees. Operating expenses, excluding depreciation, increased by $2.3 million, or about 3.2% to $74.1 million. The majority of categories remained relatively consistent between 23 and 24. The two largest increases in operating expenses were to administration, which costs increased about $1.2 million. The largest cost in this category was related to software maintenance and software licenses. And we saw an increase to utility costs of about $0.9 million, primarily due to increase in electricity. This slide provides a visual comparison of the district's revenues for 2024 compared to 2023. 2024 revenues are represented by the blue bars, and 2023 revenues are represented with the green bars. The chart separates operating revenues on the left of the black vertical line and non-operating revenue on the right. On the operating revenue side, we see the largest year-over-year increases in water sales and services and wastewater sales and services, primarily due to the board-approved rate increases of 12% for water and 3% for wastewater. On the non-operating revenue side, the numbers tend to be more volatile, as these revenues depend on factors outside the district's core business activities. These include property tax received from the County of El Dorado, debt surcharges, interest earned and unrealized gains and losses on investments, which are combined here as investment income, and lastly, other income, which captures items such as grant reimbursements and insurance reimbursements. Similarly, set up to the chart on the last slide, this chart compares district expenses for 2024 to 2023 by category. Operating expenses are shown on the left of the black line and non-operating expenses on the right. The majority of expense categories remained relatively consistent year over year. One of the larger year-over-year decreases occurred in interest expense on the non-operating side. This was due to paying off the balance of the 2016A bond in March 2024. We do expect interest expense to increase again in 2025 because debt service payments for the 2024A bond began in March of 25. Debt service coverage ratios are used to measure available cash flow to pay current debt obligations. These ratios are closely reviewed by credit agencies when evaluating the district's financial strength in conjunction with our days cash on hand. In addition, the district is required to comply with its bond covenant, which sets a minimum ratio of 1.25 that includes FCC revenue. Staying above this threshold is essential to maintaining compliance and supporting our strong credit rating. Please note I removed without FCCs that was published in the board packet because it was added in error to the bond covenant minimum when it should have been following the 1.0 ratio for the district's internal goal minimum. The district goal minimum ratio is utilized when there is no subordinate debt with bond covenants. I am now going to walk through the calculation for total district, which is shown on the far right column of the chart. For 2024, the total district's revenues were $123.7 million. After subtracting total expenses of $68.4 million, this produced net revenue of $55.3 million. That revenue is then divided by our senior debt service requirements of $15.6 million, resulting in a debt service coverage ratio of 3.55. As previously discussed, we had a reduction in debt service requirements in '24 because we paid off the 2016A bond at the beginning of the year. There will be an increase to debt service expenses in 2025 due to the payments on the 2024A bond beginning in March of 2025. Yes.
Ours here, but the red
Yes.
means a lot. It doesn't say that here
Yes.
to me. So could you?
She actually spoke to that. What she said was on the original slide posted in the board packet, the without FCCs was posted in error on the wrong side.
I
It
heard her
should-
say that.
Th-
I
That's what
needed
she,
to get another, I needed
do
to.
you mind repeating that portion if you don't mind?
Yes, so the bond covenant required minimum includes FCCs, so the red font was not supposed to be on that side. It was supposed to be following the 1.0 ratio for the district's internal minimum, which does not.
Thank you. I just, for people who are watching this online, I think it's really important because this is a topic of great discussion.
Yes, agreed. Okay. So, there will be an increase to debt service expenses in '25 due to the payments of the '24A bond beginning in March. While this will lower our debt service coverage ratio, the approved rate increases will help offset the reduction and keep our coverage strong. The chart further breaks down the calculation by our two enterprise funds, water and wastewater. At December 31st, 2024, the water fund had a ratio of 3.08 and wastewater had a ratio of 4.89. This breakdown shows that both funds individually had enough cash flow to cover their debt obligations in 2024. The days cash on hand ratio measures the ability to meet expenses, respond to emergencies, and manage variances from forecasted revenues or expenses. The ratio is calculated by adding unrestricted cash balances to restricted investment balances, multiplying by 365 to represent the days in a year, and then dividing by operating expenses. For 2024, the district's cash on hand is 150 days. The district is currently rated AA3 by Moody's and AA- by Standard & Poor's. These ratings are described as high grade and are important to maintain because they reflect the district's financial health and help secure favorable borrowing terms. To continue a high grade rating, the district will need to increase its days cash on hand. The future year rate increases are designed to support this goal. The appropriations limit procedures are performed to verify that the district's calculation complies with state requirements. Badawi and Associates performed agreed-upon procedures related to the calculation of the 2024 appropriations limit and did not identify any findings. This is the end of the district's annual audit report, and I would now like to turn the microphone over to Mr. Badawi, who will be presenting Badawi and Associates' external audit of the district's financial statements.
Good morning. My name is Ahmed Badawi, and I was the audit partner on the district audit for this year. And I'll present to you the results of our work. So I'm going to be just pointing to move the slides. So I'm going to start by just letting you know what the agenda is. So if you can go to the next slide. So this is what I'm going to cover today. I'll give you a brief overview of our firm and the engagement team that we assigned to the district. What were the deliverables in the scope of our audit, a brief overview of our audit methodology, some of the areas that we identified as audit risks, the type of audit opinion we issued, and a brief summary of the numbers in the financial statements, provide you some of the required communications as your independent auditor, and a very brief overview of the new accounting standards coming your way. If we can move on. So on this slide, just a very brief overview of our firm. We have about 25 years of experience. I am the founder of the firm. We are a very specialized firm. We work mostly with governmental entities. We work with about 65 governmental entities, about 21 special districts. We have about 30 employees, and knock on wood, so far we have 0 lawsuits. So all the numbers we like to be high, except that bottom one. We work very hard to keep it low. On this slide is the composition of our engagement team. I was the engagement partner. That means I'm the one ultimately responsible for the audit. We always have a quality control reviewer. He's also at a partner level, and his role is to be in the background, reviewing our work, making sure that we adhere to professional standards, and also provide a second review of the financial statements of the district. We had 1 senior and 2 professional staff assigned to the district, and we also utilize an IT specialist to evaluate the control over the district IT environment. And also, we use them for testing of data migration to the new software as well. If we go on to the next slide, those were the deliverables in the scope of our audit. We were mainly engaged to provide an audit opinion on the district ACFR, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. We're also engaged to provide an opinion on what we call the single audit, and that is actually ongoing. This is a compliance audit of the federal grants that the district expended during the year. We also provided an agreed upon procedure report regarding the appropriation limit, or what we refer to as the GAN limit. And then finally, the communication with the governing body, which is what I'm doing today. And once the single audit is complete, we will be issuing a letter summarizing those communications as well. If we can go to the next slide. Just a very brief overview of our audit methodology. The audit is really a process that is throughout the year. It starts with planning early in the year, where we meet with management. We kind of get an idea about what were the major events, major changes that occurred, issues from past audit that we need to address, and just really gather data to be able to start the planning process. Then we have an interim phase, and this phase is normally focused on evaluating the district processes and controls. It involves interviews with district staff, making sure we understand what they do, the checks and balances that are in place. And then we based our risk assessment based on that. Then we come into the year-end phase, and this is when we come and validate the different account balances, make sure that they're substantiated by audit evidence, and that all accounting policies have been consistently applied. And then finally, the reporting phase is when we draft the financial statements, management prepare the MD&A, and then we put that final document together. If we go on to the next slide, some of the primary audit risks, I always like to qualify before I start, there are no audit risk-free audits. Every audit have risks, same like when we drive a car on the freeway, there are always risks involved with that. Some of the risks we identified are pretty standard in most of our audits. The first one is risk of management override of controls. Management is the one who is responsible for designing and implementing controls. They are responsible for monitoring those controls, and they can be in a position to override them. So we try to design our audit procedures to at least minimize this risk to an acceptable level. And we do that by making sure that we assign more experienced personnel to more complex areas of the audit, that we incorporate an element of unpredictability in our audit process, that we examine and test estimates made by management, journal entries made by management, that we identify the rationale behind any unusual transaction, and then also evaluate our inquiries regarding fraud and any related party issues. If we go on to the next slide, also revenues and receivable is an area of a higher risk. Auditing standards actually require us to consider revenue as an area of a higher risk. I guess the assumption is people like to have more revenues and less expenses, unless you're preparing your tax return, which gets a little reversed. But that's kind of the assumption. So we rely on confirmation with the county regarding property taxes. We also perform testing of utility billing, make sure that the rates and consumption and those things are used properly. And then finally, we do also a lot of analytics and ratio analysis to compare months to months, prior year to current year, investigate any unusual fluctuation either in consumption or revenues that are received. And then finally, estimates. Estimate due to their nature, the degree of uncertainty, they are areas of higher risk. So just wanted to bring to your attention what are the estimated numbers in your financial statements. Fair value of investments, capital assets, the useful life of capital assets, pension and OPEB are really big estimates based on a lot of assumptions, and then the claim liabilities as well. On the next few slides, I'm going to provide you just a summary of our audit opinion and the numbers in your financial statements. So the audit opinion mentioned the standards that we followed, and those are the generally accepted auditing standards and also government auditing standards. Like Madison mentioned earlier, we have issued an unmodified opinion, and that means that we believe that the financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects. that all significant accounting policies have been consistently applied, that all estimates are reasonable, and that all disclosures are properly reflected in the financial statements. Just a 30,000-foot view of the numbers in your financial statements. On this slide is a summary of the district assets over the last 3 years. You will see that the largest assets, like in most entities we audit, are cash and investments and capital assets. I would say that the only fluctuation that I can see on this slide is the increase in restricted cash and investments. There was obviously the 2024 bond that were issued. The money hasn't been spent yet. There was also some increase in capital assets, just projects being completed. And so I would say those are the two main increases or fluctuation. On the next slide is summary of the district liabilities. And again, this is fairly consistent year over year. There was an increase in long-term debt due to the issuance of the new bonds. But other than that, fairly consistent year over year.
Question for you on this slide. Where our pension bonds, where would they fall in this? Where do they get?
Under that long-term debt, that third column.
Okay. Wouldn't it be more transparent to include it with the pension liabilities?
Well, the pension liability is independent. This is really what's owed to CalPERS, what's owed to employees based on the most recent estimate after applying the bond money to CalPERS. The bond is an outstanding liability on its own. You will have to pay it regardless of what the CalPERS plan performance is.
I just think that it would be good, maybe, I don't know if it may not be standard practice, but I don't want that debt to get lost in amongst all the other general obligation debt, even though I know it is.
Yeah.
But for us to be reminded as a board, especially, and for the public, as we continue on, because these are a long-term commitment, that we're not forgetting why we borrowed that money and what it went for.
There are definitely flexibility in creating a separate line item for the pension obligation bond and separating it from the long-term debt to make it more visible. We can discuss with management different ways of highlighting this and making it more visible.
That'd be great if you guys could look into that. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So on this slide is going over the district net position or equity. And this is really taking district assets minus liabilities. Madison mentioned in her presentation that the district net position is about $502 million. So I wanted to zoom in a little bit and kind of break this down into the different categories. The first and largest category is the net investment in capital assets. And you can see in 2024, it was $546 million. This is how much money the district invested in infrastructure, in facilities, in buildings, equipment, so on, minus any debt that was issued to acquire those facilities. The restricted amounts are amounts that have legal restriction on them, either through a bond indenture or just through the nature of them, like FCC, and that's about $27 million. And then the unrestricted amount is really what's under the board's control. And that is currently a deficit, $71.7 million. So obviously, we normally don't like to see a deficit number. There are reasons for it. Obviously, pension liability and OPEB liability would be a part of that. It's not 100%, but is a big part of that. But when there is a deficit like this, it obviously sometimes can raise concerns about the availability of reserves and things of that nature. Rate increases absolutely address that issue. But I just wanted to bring to your attention that from the $500 million net position, this is how it's sliced. And we would like to see that unrestricted number obviously improve. If we go on to the next slide, also Madison mentioned that we had to restate the opening balances of the financial statements. This normally happens when errors are discovered in the previously issued financial statements that required to be corrected. So we have discovered a few errors. One of them was regarding pension allocation, where how the pension amounts in the past was allocated between the water and wastewater. Some of the allocations were not done correctly, which resulted in a negative liability in one of the funds and a positive liability in the other fund. And the cash wasn't moved correctly as well. So that was probably the biggest adjustment. We had also a restatement to correct the capital asset balances to make them match with the capital asset listing. There was also a payroll-related liability, and that's also related to CalPERS, where CalPERS, when they bill you for the contribution, they break it down and say, well, this is the normal cost, and this is an amortization of the unfunded liability. That part should not be recorded as liability as long as you're meeting your contribution, and it was recorded in error in the past, so we removed that liability. And then there were some reclassification issues between restricted and unrestricted cash and investments. If you look at the 2023 financials, it had a negative 20+ million restricted cash. So that was an error, obviously, and so we made a correction to correct that error, that classification issue. So those were the restatements that were done during our audit. And if we go on to the next slide.
Got a question on that, on the restatement of 2023. In your experience and your firm's experience, is that common to see these kind of errors in restatement, or is it unusual?
It's not uncommon. We're not supposed to see them very often because anytime you have a restatement, it basically means that the district controls did not detect those errors in a timely manner before the statements were issued. So one of the findings that we have this year is regarding those restatements, that the fact that the district controls did not work timely to detect those errors before the financials were issued. But do I see it? Definitely, we see it often, more often than we would like to. But I don't want to normalize it also and say that it's okay to have them.
Right.
Ideally, you don't want to have those.
Right, thank you.
Right. I mentioned that pension is one of the estimated numbers, and one of the most significant assumptions in developing this number is what we call the discount rate. So I just wanted to highlight to you what your numbers would look like if that discount rate goes up or down by 1%. So currently your numbers is the middle row, and all the way to the right is the current liability of 9.6 million. If that discount rate is decreased by 1%, your liability goes up to almost 38 million. And if it's increased by 1%, becomes a superfunded plan for 14 million. As exciting as it sounds, the increase scenario is probably not very likely. I mean, I cannot predict obviously what CalPERS would do, but I never heard of a discussion recently that they have plans to increase the discount rate. If anything, they're looking to probably decrease it even more.
I like this information though, because it does show that it's potentially, like, it's not volatile now, but there is an element of risk for us that we need to keep our fingers on the pulse on and watch.
Definitely, CalPERS is one of the biggest challenges for most of our clients, and fluctuation that happens in the market and their performance impacts you directly by changes in your contributions. So, right? Similar to pension, also OPEB is an estimated number. OPEB is the retiree medical benefits. Not as sensitive to the discount rate as pension just because of the funded status, but still nonetheless, discount rate is one of the most significant assumptions. So this does the same, shows you what your numbers would look like with a 1% increase or decrease. The next part of my presentation is just going over the required communications as your independent auditor. So on this slide here, I want to summarize to you what our responsibilities are as the audit firm versus management's responsibility. We are responsible to provide an opinion on the district financial statements, whether it's fairly stated in accordance with US GAAP. We're responsible to evaluate internal control over financial reporting, evaluate compliance with laws and regulations, ensure that the financial statements are clear and transparent, and then finally, we are responsible to communicate with the governing body. Management have a lot of responsibilities in this process. So even though we certify the numbers, we say that they are fairly stated, our audit is done on a test basis. It provides only reasonable, not absolute assurance about the financial statements, and it definitely does not relieve management from its responsibility for the completeness and accuracy of those financial statements. Management is responsible to establish and maintain internal control over financial reporting, make all financial records available to us, establish internal control that will prevent and detect fraud, inform us of all known and suspected fraud, comply with laws and regulations, and take corrective action on audit findings. On the next slide, in terms of our independence, it is solely our responsibility to maintain our independence. We adhere to the California Board of Accountancy and the AICPA rules regarding independence. One of the matters that could impact our independence is us drafting the financial statements on behalf of the district. This is something that's been identified by government auditing standard as a matter that will impact independence if no safeguards are put in place. So the safeguards are really on both sides, where we have to identify in the district someone with suitable skill, knowledge, and experience that will be able to review the financials and take responsibility for them. And obviously, we look for the finance director and the accounting manager for that. Second, we also have an independent reviewer who's not involved in the audit, who reviews the financial statements and provide that second set of eyes on those financial statements. So we believe that we met the independence requirements. As far as timing of the audit, it was not performed within the time frame communicated initially. Obviously, there were several things that required additional investigations. The data migration to the new, I believe, IPS, don't quote me on that, but the new utility system had some issues, and the district had to go back and investigate what those issues were. There were some issues with capital assets that required more investigation. So it's just basic, and us being a first year with the district and not as familiar with the operation as the prior auditors, all of that contributed to some delay. So we're hoping that next year the audit will be more timely, but there was some delay in the current year. And then finally, some of the significant accounting policies and unusual transactions. So there were really no unusual transactions, but the district did implement 2 new accounting standards, GASB 100, regarding the correction of errors. So that's how we're displaying those errors and restatements in the financial statements. And then GASB 101 regarding compensated absences. And really that did not involve any changes on the district side. We just made sure that the district was compliant, but it did not require any changes. And we encountered no difficulties during our audit. So even though I always distinguish between challenges and difficulties. Every audit has its own challenges, and investigating certain things and complexity and things of that nature. But we didn't have any issues working with management. We felt they were responsive. They had the knowledge to provide us the information that we needed. So we felt from that perspective that there were no difficulties. There were some adjustments, and management has posted all proposed adjustments. So adjustments occur when we find that the numbers provided by management maybe were not fully correct, or maybe we're missing some information, and then we propose adjustments to correct those. There were incidents also where management proposed the adjustments, where they discovered that after they closed the books and provided us the numbers, that some of the numbers needed some adjustments. So it was really on both sides. I mentioned that we had some findings, or what we refer to as deficiencies in internal control. So the first one is a material weakness, and that's really the most severe. Material weakness is the most we can provide, and it's relating to those restatements of the previously issued financial statements. Again, because the restatements were big numbers, $20 million in one of them, so these are big errors. So that's why we're putting a material weakness on that. The other 2 are significant deficiencies, which is lower in severity. One of them is really our take on the structure of records of the district, that we felt it was overly complex without necessarily resulting in more transparency, where a transaction has to be recorded in one place, then taken out and allocated to multiple places. And in that process, errors do occur. I believe the $20 million restatement was a result of some of those allocation methods and complexity, that something got missed in the process. And then the data conversion and migration. So during the conversion to the new utility system, the district discovered that there were a few cycles that were missing from that data migration. And that was also the result of that there was no process in place to ensure the completeness of the data before the migration is complete. So those were the observations that we had. On the next slide, it's just a brief summary of the new accounting standards that are coming the district's way. Normally, we meet with management after each phase of the audit, and we go over the new accounting standards and what they mean to the district and what the district needs to do to prepare for them. We also host an annual training seminar where obviously it's free for district staff, where we go into great detail about those new standards and how to comply with them. With that, I want to say thank you for allowing us the opportunity. It was a pleasure working with the district, and I'm more than happy to answer any additional questions.
Thank you very much. I'm sure the board joins with me in expressing our sincere gratitude to the audit team and to Madison and the accounting staff for their dedication and thoroughness throughout the audit process. We recognize there were challenges in staff turnover and in our accounting system software and billing software. Some of those caused some delays in the reporting, as you pointed out. We appreciate your patience and willingness to complete the audit under sometimes difficult circumstances. We understand what you told us in the management findings, and the material weaknesses in our internal control procedures. We'll take appropriate action to correct those, and hopefully we look forward to next year with you as a much smoother process.
I look forward to that too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for your presentation. I've seen quite a few audits in my time here, and this is one of the most coherent, readable, I think also helpful for the public to be able to follow and understand. So thank you. It was a good job.
Thank you.
Yes, Director Anzini?
Yeah, thank you very much for the audit. And as most people understand, as citizens, this board is responsible ultimately for the decisions that have been made. And it's always through the guided leadership of our general manager and staff to adequately give us the information. But transparency needs to be much more thorough, and including when there's management turnover and, a board member gets confronted and said, when did that happen? So we have a new general manager coming on, and the staff needs to be aware or be more transparent to us and the general manager should be reporting to us when there are certain things going on. And I'm not saying anything bad happened. What I'm saying is transparency, new audit procedures, and the ability for this board to accept the responsibility of what may have happened the last 2 years. It's really part of our job to do that. And this is a much more clear audit that we've had in a long time. So thank you very much.
I just want to remind the board that we do not have a first or a second. So probably most
That's a
appropriate.
good time to do that.
Yes.
I'll move
Thank you.
option one.
And I'll second it.
Thank you.
And I just want to concur with Director Anzini. I think, some of the issues we had, and this is not a reflection on you, of, I think, more timely reporting to the board so we know more in real time rather than waiting till we do these big formal presentations. So that's just a suggestion for Bonnie, for you. If there are issues, let us know more in real time.
And I just wanted to
Point
call
out.
out that we are at the end of the auditor presentation. However, we're not at the end of the staff presentation. So if we can hold further comments, and we'll let Pravani finish the presentation. Perfect. And we will have, once Pravani finishes the presentation, we'll read the option, and then the first and the second, we'll just have you confirm your first and the second once the presentation is over.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Pravani Vandia. I am the General Manager of El Dorado Irrigation District. I want to thank both Madison and Ahmed for their presentations on the audit, as well as the 2023 restatements that were covered. Through the audit process, our staff has identified the following goals. We need to secure and implement a new financial system to simplify our financial processes. We need to create some best practices for our year-end procedures to ensure that there is adequate quality control with the numbers that we produce. We need to work on increasing our days cash on hand and developing operating and capital reserves. And we need to improve our unrestricted net position. Working on securing and implementing a financial software and creating best practices for our year-end procedures will address the audit findings. We've already started to engage in the process of finding a new financial software system. As previously presented by staff, we recommend that the board implements the previously approved rate increases as part of the 2026 budget process. This will increase the district's days of cash on hand and provide opportunity to implement the district's operating and capital reserves per Administrative Regulation 3014. Increasing days of cash on hand and implementing reserves will improve the district's unrestricted net position, which has been negative since 2016. Staff will continue to look for ways to improve the unrestricted net position over time and ensure that the district moves forward to enhance our financial position. Again, I want to say thank you to staff for working through this onerous audit process due to staffing changes over time. And I am looking forward to next year's, which I think is going to be much more streamlined for all the reasons that we've indicated. And I'm going to turn over to Jennifer Sullivan to read the option to us, please.
Option 1, receive and file the 2024 annual audit, restated 2023 audit, and the 2024 report on agreed-upon procedures related to the appropriations limit. And staff is recommending option 1. We have Director Day that previously moved option 1 with a second from Director Anzini. Now just, will you speak on the microphone and confirm your first and second?
Confirm moving option 1.
Director Anzini?
Yes.
Okay, now we could go into additional questions, board comments.
Additional board comments?
So we were eagerly looking forward to this report, and thank you, Ahmed and Madison, for your presentations. Clearly, the grand jury report was, one of the things that was of interest to not only the board, but also the entire community. And, reiterate from the grand jury report that there was no malfeasance, and clearly there were no issues such as fraud or anything like that, but we lacked good internal controls. And these are steps to rectify that, to move forward, to hopefully streamline and make our financial position that much more transparent and effective. And my feeling is that we need to be able to withstand scrutiny at any time, and at times invite scrutiny, so that we can maintain the highest level of credibility and fiscal responsibility to the community. So thank you for the report. Thank you for all your hard work. Very good presentations. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to comment. I very much look forward to maybe an informational item or perhaps an action item when we get to the point that there's a new financial system on the table, as you described. But I think this is a wonderful opportunity. Pravani's filling out the financial team, and this is a good opportunity to judge the results of that team as they come in the future. I think we've made some progress on cash on hand to date, but but there's still a lot of room for improvement because that's one of the metrics that can be a remedy for whatever Mother Nature throws at us as far as business operations in the future. So thank you.
I just have one point of clarification, Director Day. Your request for updates, is that during the audit by the audit team, or is it by our staff?
No, I think when we, for instance, the errors were discovered about misclassifying the 20 million here and the 20 million there, we were getting a little late to the party about learning that information. It was almost public information before we knew about it. So that's what I was referring to, is when we discover something that's unpleasant, bring it and share it with the board and the public as soon as possible.
Thank you.
And I do have one other request, because it might be me, but I'm hearing some new terms about being in deficit with our unrestricted positions, or I'm not using the correct terminology, but since 2016, could we have an information item and bring that back and flesh that out and explain it more to the board and to the public?
I'll work on bringing something back to the board to indicate what that was since 2016, so you can get a perspective on what that looks like over time. But overall, it's indicative of our days of cash on hand that isn't as high as we would like it to be. It is not, we have cash on hand, we just don't have over 200 days of cash on hand.
So
That would be
is-
indicative of a better unrestricted.
Is it a misnomer then to call it a deficit? Because if we have 150-day cash on hand, that's not a deficit.
And I
But is it a
believe,
deficit compared to our goal?
so it's looking at all of those things in totality, your cash or your money available and your liabilities, and then showing that there's a negative. I believe in the financial world, that is the definition, that's how it's reported, right?
That is correct. So the deficit is your unrestricted assets minus the liabilities that are expected to be paid from those assets. So that number is negative.
So could we be educated a little more on that?
And we can certainly work on that, is delving that into that a little more, and maybe what contributes to that negative, what's causing that negative. So staff will work on that to bring that back to you. And if I may really quickly, Director Mansfield mentioned the changes in staffing. We did bring a new financial director on board, and she has been diving in deep with the audit and helping us ensure that everything we're reporting is what it needs to be. And that's part of that process, right, in the staffing changes. She's already stepped in and done so many things that's helping us ensure that we're going to be in a better place, which is why I could confidently stand up there and say next year's process is going to be much more streamlined than it is this year, because of everything that I've been seeing to date. So we've already started to build towards ensuring all of those things identified in the audit are addressed, which includes having strong, knowledgeable staff in place to ensure that we have multiple layers to pick up on any potential errors in reporting like we saw in 2023.
Thank you. And Director Day, we'll put Penny on center stage when the time is appropriate to address your interim report. Any other board comments? Is there any public comment on this item?
If members of the public would like to address the board on action item number 13, please refer to the instructions in today's agenda. President Dwyer, it does not appear there are any members of the public wishing to speak on action item number 13. Option 1 moved by Director Day and seconded by Director Anzini. I believe we're ready for the vote.
Okay, please vote.
Division 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, voting aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, now moving backwards to item 11. That's we'll open the public hearing for Yeah, our,
Human Resources.
yeah, Jose is going to talk to us about how do we fill our vacancies. And how many we got? Oh, you're not Jose.
It's, this morning, Kristen Vinton will be presenting our public hearing item. The public hearing is now opened at 10:30 a.m.
Thank you.
Good morning, board members. My name is Kristen Vinton. I'm a human resource analyst here with the district. This presentation fulfills the district's statutory obligation under Assembly Bill 2561. I will be presenting data and analysis related to workforce vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts for calendar year 2024, consistent with the new requirements that took effect earlier this year. There has been no prior board action related to AB 2561. This will be the district's first presentation required under this new law. Summary of issue. Assembly Bill 2561, signed by Governor Newsom on September 22nd, 2024, added Government Code Section 3502.3 to the Myers-Milius-Brown Act, also known as the MMBA. The law mandates that public agencies hold at least one public hearing annually to report on the number and nature of workforce vacancies, recruitment efforts, retention strategies, and any policies, procedures, or hiring practices that may present barriers.
Can you describe what the logic behind this requirement is?
Sure. So from my understanding and from the numerous trainings that we've had, larger cities that have thousands of vacancies, they're really trying to figure out what are the obstacles. And so for us, we're a little bit smaller, and you'll see throughout the presentation, we don't really have that amount of vacancies, but still required under the law.
Okay.
I believe it's part of the Transparency Act that's happening, because there are smaller agencies that don't divulge their hiring. It's not come in front of the boards, but, you know, in previous boards I've been on, public agencies, you need to, as a school district, you need to report those every time there's a board meeting on hiring. And it's not done here, but there's smaller agencies that haven't done it. So it's part of the Transparency Act.
And it certainly doesn't hurt us to review our vacancies and hiring procedures, so thank you.
Face, I have no idea.
Well, you'll see this every year, so. This presentation satisfies the district requirement under AB 2561 using 2024 workforce data. So AB 2561 became effective January 1st, 2025. It applies to all public agencies and aims to improve transparency and collaboration around workforce conditions. If a budget is being adopted, this public hearing must take place prior to adoption. The law also requires that recognized employee organizations be given the opportunity to make their own presentation at the hearing if they choose. If a single bargaining unit reaches or exceeds a 20% vacancy rate, additional reporting is required. I would also like to point out that our total employee count reflects both the unrepresented and represented employees on the following slides. So for 2024, the district had 241 authorized full-time equivalent positions across all bargaining units and non-represented staff. The monthly vacancy rate fluctuated between a low of 0.8% in January and a high of 6.6% in December. The average monthly vacancy rate across the year was 3.6%. We do typically have quite a bit of retirements in December, so the 6.6% is a normal figure that we would anticipate to see. These rates are well below the 20% threshold that would trigger additional detailed reporting. The district has 2 recognized employee organizations as well as an unrepresented employee group. The unrepresented group includes confidential non-represented employees, the department directors, and the top executive employee group. The Employee Association, EA, covers 204 full-time employees. The Managers and Supervisors Association, MSA, covers 23 full-time employees. And the unrepresented employee group covers 14 full-time employees. In 2024, the average vacancy rate for the EA was 6.9% and the MSA was 8.7%. Since both bargaining units remain below the 20% threshold, no additional reporting under that section of the law is required. I would also like to point out that the American Water Works Association, AWWA, provides benchmarking data every year. Last year, 113 agencies with the same service type as EID, water and wastewater, participated. The median vacancy rate from their report for 2024 showed a 9% vacancy rate. In total, 41 vacancies were filled during 2024. All of these were filled through competitive recruitment and eligibility lists. 39 positions were filled through internal and external recruitments, and 2 were filled using eligibility lists during this time frame. The average time to fill a vacancy was 44 calendar days for internal and external recruitments, which is well within acceptable industry timeframes. AWWA's median result from their benchmarking survey was 61 calendar days to fill a vacancy. Okay, our recruitment process is a straightforward process that is used for all recruitments. So first, a vacancy is created. The process begins when a position becomes vacant due to retirement, voluntary or involuntary separation, internal movement, or the creation of a newly budgeted position. A quick note on retirements. We initiate early recruitment efforts as soon as we are notified of impending retirements. This strategic approach helps ease the transition and reduces the burden on our existing workforce. Request recruitment. The hiring manager submits a recruitment requisition, which must be approved by executive leadership before HR can begin the recruitment process. Determine recruitment activity type. HR then partners with the hiring manager and creates a recruitment plan, which determines whether to use an existing eligibility list, internal-only recruitment, or open a new recruitment to both internal and external candidates. The plan also details the advertising plan, tells us what the application screening process will look like, as well as who will be included in the panel interview. Job posting. The job is then advertised on the district's website, relevant job boards, and social media platforms to attract qualified applicants. Application screening. HR then screens submitted applications based on the predetermined criteria outlined in the recruitment plan to ensure candidates meet the minimum qualifications required for the position. Candidate interview. Qualified candidates are then invited to participate in a panel interview. HR facilitates the process and recommends the top candidate to the hiring manager for consideration. Conditional job offer. Once the interviews are complete, the hiring manager authorizes HR to extend a conditional offer of employment to the selected candidate. Determine eligibility list. This step is optional. Those candidates not selected but did well may be placed on an eligibility list for consideration in future recruitments if applicable. Pre-placement process. The selected candidate accepts the conditional offer. HR coordinates the required background check and pre-employment physical, as well as professional reference checks. Job placement. Once all pre-employment requirements are completed, the candidate is assigned a start date and officially placed in the position. This consistent and structured approach has helped the district maintain efficient hiring timelines with an average time to fill of 44 calendar days in 2024. While not reflected in the chart, it's important to highlight that the probationary period represents the final phase of the district's recruitment process. This standard 12-month period for all new hires serves as an evaluation window, allowing the district to assess alignment in role expectations, performance, and organizational culture. All decisions related to probationary employees are guided by the district's established guiding principles, ensuring consistency, fairness, and strategic alignment. There were 57 total vacancies created during the 2024 calendar year. Of these, 3 were created by newly budgeted positions, representing 5% of the total. 16 were created by internal promotions or opportunities, which accounted for 28% of vacancies and reflects healthier career mobility within the district. Looking at attrition-related vacancies, 16 vacancies resulted from retirements. There were 10 from involuntary separations, which means 46% of total vacancies were due to attrition. 11 vacancies resulted from voluntary separations or resignations, which reflects a 19% turnover share. The district's overall annual staffing turnover rate stood at 5%, which is considered low for public agencies of the same service type. The AWWA Utility Benchmarking Survey for fiscal year 2024 noted a median industry turnover rate of 11.4% for water and wastewater utilities. hard-to-recruit positions. So California registered engineers and water treatment operators at levels T3, T4, and T5 are considered as hard to recruit. This is not a unique situation for EID, as most public agencies are recruiting from the same and/or similar pool of candidates. The California Water Environment Association, CWEA, published a survey last year conducted by the Centers of Excellence for Labor Market Research, COE, which stated 67% of California water agencies report they are finding it difficult to recruit water operators, and 64% report difficulty in hiring engineers in this field. Some of the enhanced hiring and retention strategies implemented included a hiring bonus and a retention bonus for both of these groups. We successfully negotiated a preferred 24-hour alternative work schedule for the water treatment plant operators at Res A during last year's negotiations. We also partnered with a third-party recruitment firm to enhance outreach and support candidate sourcing efforts. I'm pleased to report that all positions within these work groups are currently filled. In accordance with AB 2561, we also reviewed whether any current hiring policies, procedures, or recruitment practices were creating barriers to employment. There were no significant obstacles that we identified. Our time to fill metric of 44 days and our below average vacancy and turnover rates support this conclusion. However, the district continues to look for ways to improve. We are in the process of upgrading our recruitment platforms from Kronos to NeoGov, which is widely used in the public sector. That project is forecasted to be completed by the end of October, beginning of November of this year. We anticipate this will improve the applicant experience, increase process efficiency, and further strengthen our recruitment pipeline. To summarize, the district has fulfilled the AB 2561 requirement for public reporting. Vacancy rates remain consistently low and well below reporting thresholds. Our recruitment activity is timely and effective. Retention rates are strong, and internal mobility continues to be a key contributor to vacancy creation. No barriers to hiring were identified, and a system upgrade is underway to support continued improvement. Board options. Option 1, receive and file the 2024 report on district job vacancies, recruitment efforts, and retention. Option 2, take other action as directed by the board. Option 3, take no action. Our recommendation is option 1. This concludes the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions or provide clarification on the data or statutory requirements.
I'll move one.
Thank you.
I'll second, and I have a question for you. It's going back to the water treatment plant operators. This has been a notorious field for decades, trying to get them certified. And what do we do? I guess I should ask management on this one. What do we do on helping provide them that certification to move up so we can fill those bottom positions?
Yeah. So we work with the manager and supervisor of that group, and they do a really good job of offering classes, additional training if needed. I know that they're also partnered with some of our T5, T4 operators as well. I don't know if Dan, you had more to
They're in
add to
demand
that.
in very rural areas too, so.
Yeah, good morning. Dan Corcoran, Operations Director. In addition to what Kristen had described, one of the things that the district is great about doing is offering career advancement training and tuition reimbursement programs for folks that perhaps are in a related field, let's say construction maintenance worker. Actually, a majority of our staff have moved into treatment from other positions within the district.
And that makes a good career, so that's good.
Exactly. And so one of the other aspects that actually General Manager Vandejar has helped bring to the district is starting to continue to build on an internship type program to start from the very entry level. And so that'll be a program that will continue to develop over the course of the next
Great,
year.
thank you.
Just to add a little bit more, Director Anzini, Jose Perez, Human Resources Director. In addition to that, once we get individuals into the water treatment, say they come in at a grade 1 or grade 2, we've implemented a flexible staffing process. So in other words, we want to encourage those individuals that have attained that grade 1 or 2 to promote automatically into the higher grades. So our classification specifications lay out that automatic promotion, if you will. So in providing all those resources for training, we don't have to necessarily open a recruitment to encourage a grade 2 to aspire to a grade 3 or to a grade 4. So we built a lot of good processes to encourage that upward mobility for these classifications.
And that works. One other question, since you're at the podium, and of course, Kristen does a great job in helping you all work together. The question on the engineers. So of course, there's always going to be a problem. They're in high demand. Have we ever been turned down because we don't have adequate housing up here?
That's a really good question. Hard to provide an answer to. Anecdotally, I think that the bigger challenge is not the lack of housing or affordable housing, but in leaving a mortgage rate that's 3.5% to coming up here and now paying 7%. I think that's the biggest challenge. And so the value is not necessarily even the value of the home, but ironically, the value of the low interest rate. So yes, I think that's a challenge. Thank you.
If I might add something, and this is based on my prior experience, engineers typically look for flexibility in schedules, including telecommuting, and the district doesn't offer that opportunity. So I think over time, we have to evaluate that, right? I certainly see pros and cons either way. But from my prior experience is we were able to compete for recruiting engineers, even though our salaries were not very competitive, but because of flexibility to allow telecommuting. So that's something we will be evaluating over time to figure out what the best path forward is.
Okay, thank you for the presentation and the answer. Any other board comments, questions?
No, just actually, I'm kind of glad we got this presentation and got this information, so thank you.
Point of order, Jennifer, do we close the public hearing before we vote or after?
After, but
Okay.
we need to call for public comment first. Would you
Oh,
like me
thank
to
you.
do that now?
Yes. Yes, that would be wonderful.
If any members of the public wishing to speak on public hearing item number 11, please, are you wanting to speak? Are you here as an employee, or can you speak at the? Okay.
Yeah.
It's all new to me, thank you. Good morning, Board. My name is Tim Cass. I'm the president of the EID Employees Association, and I'm a water treatment plant operator down in El Dorado Hills. The EA's board has asked that I make a brief statement regarding this issue. While the efforts to hire and retain in the engineering and water treatment plant operator classifications has proven successful as those positions are now filled, the EA is hoping to see more stability in both the water construction, water maintenance, and finance departments. Some EA members have expressed concern to our board and our board members with the amount of turnover in these departments. But with recent appointments at the director level specifically, and even the supervisor level in the water construction division, we're optimistic that there hopefully will be a reduction and a more positive path moving forward.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
If there are additional members of the public wishing to speak on public hearing item number 11, please come up to the public mic or refer to the detailed instructions on page 2 of today's agenda. I was just seeing if Russell wanted to say anything. President Dwyer does not appear. There are any additional members of the public wishing to speak? I believe that we're ready for the vote.
Okay, please vote.
Division 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, voting aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Do we have any assignments?
We have a few direction to staff, but no review of assignments today.
Thank you. Any final board comments? Okay, meeting adjourned.
At 10:49.